This is Red Fox, and that wheel you see down there needs some serious help. So, I've done a few repair videos on an iMac in particular, on some of my other channels, but, well, I guess we're going to kick things up a notch. This time we're going to make a video of me repairing my car. And you noticed I titled all of those repair videos Idiot Style. This should go great. So today what I'll be replacing and repairing, etc. is the front left wheel has, well, a few problems with the braking components as well as the general bearing itself. So we're going to be diving really deep into that wheel. So buckle up. So in terms of the tools you'll need, well, first you'll need a professional idiot. Second, you'll need a camera. And third, you'll need a tripod. Okay, let's be serious here now. So first thing we need to do in order to get into the car's wheel, well, before we jack it up even, we gotta break the nuts loose. Otherwise, well, you've got a wheel spinning in the air. Don't do you much good. So, the tools you'll need are, I don't have any tools with me at the moment. I can fix that. How did this get here? It's a breaker bar with a 3/4 inch socket. Well, time to break some nuts. Okay, so wheel number one, here we go. So all you have to do is simply insert your thing in here. And yes, you are allowed to do this. It's called a breaker bar for a reason. Just do that. Step on it like that. Be careful not to step on your toes when you land. Ooh. See why you need the car on the ground to do this? There's 3. Come on. There we go. Almost. Oh, you get stuck! Alright, this wheel is broken loose. And because the other wheel also needs some new brake pads and a new rotor and such, I'll go break the others real quick as well. Here's a cool tip. If you're looking for a place to store these without losing them, well, here's what I do. There! Now you can't lose them, assuming that you don't forget that they're in there in the first place, which, lucky me, I don't. Alright, now that we got the wheels broken, it's time to jack it up. So the basic way this works is you take your jack, you figure out how to maneuver it to the best of your ability, and then you shove it up underneath the car. Now, oh dear, I don't want that raising just yet. Now, usually, there's a spot under there that is part of the frame of the vehicle. That's usually where you want to jack it up. Otherwise, you could potentially damage something, which I am not trying to do today. So just get it in position, make sure your jack is ready to be raised, and start lifting. Evidently, I need to adjust a little bit. There we go. All right. And the rest is self-explanatory. Now we're going to go from this to something like this. Now I gotta go get the jack stands. Well, what do you know? All right, now we get to take the wheel off after we remove all the other nuts. There.
wasn't so hard, right?
Okay, we got the wheel off. And now we gotta get the brake off. Alright, so a big problem when it comes to working on like 15-year-old cars or something is that whenever you need to work on the brakes, they generally get rusty, which is a real pain to deal with. Because, I mean, it's tight and everything sticks together. Well, not to worry, all you really need is just a chisel and an array of hammers, and eventually you can pry this off. But before we even begin chiseling, we have to unbolt this first. Time to go find another wrench. Looky here. A 1/2-inch wrench. One minute. Got one! Time for the bottom. Here's a tip when trying to do these. Make sure that you're unbolting the right bolts, which are closer to the drive shaft, since this is a front wheel after all. Because if you undo the wrong one, you could possibly take the caliper off of the caliper mount, and then you get brake fluid all over the place. Not fun. Okay. We got the bolts out, and now this thing actually seems a little loose, so let's see if we can just gently take her right off. Come on. There we go. Alright, and I'll just temporarily set you right there for now. Should be good to go for the brake caliper and all that. Let's get to the bearing after we remove this plate and... Oh, thank you, they actually did it. So when it comes to removing the front rotor, because this is a front drive car, there's actually another nut in here that actually keeps the rotor and all the other stuff on because, well, this is... the drive shaft is hooked up to this. So there's an extra nut that you gotta take off. That is a pain to get off. So I'll have to go get help for that real quick. But there's one other note that I want to make when taking this rotor off. That is, I don't know whose brilliant idea was, but they decided that in order to hold this on, the rotor, during assembly, why not get a Torx screw to put in here to hold the rotor on so they can assemble the rest of the car. Here's the problem with that. That thing rusts and it breaks. And when that breaks, your rotor is stuck. So, whose brilliant idea was it to put the Torx screw in here? Because that is horrible design and it makes this thing a pain to repair. Thank goodness it looks like this one has already been replaced because it looks like the screw is already broken off. But man, those things are annoying and such a pain. You want to know how to properly hold this on during assembly? Use a nut. Screw on a nut right here, and that literally does the same thing the Torx screw is doing. It's one less thing to break and make repairing a car that much more difficult. So, whose idea was that? Alright, I'm gonna go figure out what I need to do to get this off. 1 minute. So, after removing a Torx screw, depending on if you have it or not, and as well, another nut in there, you can figure out how to pull this off. Usually it might involve a bunch of vibrations, or in some cases even what I refer to as the BAH. Alright, now that that's off, time to get the bearing free. And, oh, this is a lot of fun. So there's 3 bolts, once again, that I have to figure out how to take off. And they are not loose by any stretch of the imagination. Here's a tip if you can't seem to break them loose. What you do is you take your wrench, right here, and then you take another wrench, loop this in here like that, and voila! You have an extension so you can apply more leverage. And because of that, you can generate more torque, and braking it becomes just a little more easier. Like I said, just a little. So, when it comes to working on the bearings in this particular Buick, there's 3 bolts securing the front bearings, and 4 bolts in the rear. Sometimes having a ratchet makes it easier, but unfortunately I cannot find one today, so I'm stuck with wrenches. It's a good thing this is the last bearing to replace in this car. Alright, I'm going to find a ratchet. This is way too frustrating. Alright, now that we got a ratchet, let's try this again. And the drive shaft's in the way. Great, so I gotta go back to wrenches. Alright, so now that we got it unbolted, I'll show you where the bolts are actually located right after I get under here. So, alright, so there's one bolt here. That's a 13 millimeter. There's another bolt over here, another 13 millimeter. They're all 13 millimeters. And then there's one more. That'd be easier to show at a different angle. Located somewhere in there. It's really hard to see, but there we go. There, somewhere in there. I can't get to the proper angle because there's too much stuff in the way. But those are where the bolts are. And once you get those removed, time to pull off the bearing. It's a bit of a hassle. But after a little bit of prying and chiseling, and in some cases wire cutting, I finally got it off. Now it's time to put a new one on after we clean this. So to clean it, we use a wire brush, get the, well, all the oxidized stuff on this rim right here, and then, well, basically follow the instructions in reverse order. This shouldn't be too hard, right? There we go, all cleaned up. Now it's time to get a new bearing. Well, where are we gonna get one of those? Oh wait! By the way, what idiot put the trunk button in my glove box? What's this? So this right here is going to be the bearing that will be replacing that junk one that's right there. So to open it up, let me see. I have this in the wrong orientation. Ah, there we go. Flip this open. Rotate it here. Move this and oh, what do you know? A front bearing. And then somehow this opens up. There we go. So this is a new bearing that's going to go on there. Basically, from the looks of it, this is the plug for the speed sensor, because that's where the speed sensor is located. It's located in the bearing. And in theory, should go on somewhat like this. And now it's time to bolt everything in. Let's see what else the trunk has to offer us. A rotor and pads. Okay, let's get the rotor out. Alright. So, engineers, here's a smart way to keep this on. We're going to first get this on over here like that. And then, watch this. Now that my hands are a mess, and I got the brake assembly back all together, it's now just time to put some anti-seize on the rotor, so that way the wheel doesn't stick to it whenever I need to pull it off. And then, well, I guess put the wheel back on. Okay, now that we got the tire back on and I checked it with the torque wrench to make sure the lug nuts were tight enough, it's now time to make sure that everything works. So, what I've replaced today was a wheel bearing and a rotor and a set of brake pads. So, let's find out and see if everything still works. Okay, brakes are still working, that's good. Alright, let's actually get over into some driveway.
braking fine. All right. Yeah, I think the brakes work. All right, so I'm just going to go around a loop. All right. Let's see, do we ride smoother? Holy crap! This is so much smoother than before. Oh yeah, this thing used to bounce like crazy at this speed. Oh, it feels so good to actually have decent bearings on this thing. Yeah, now we're not bouncing like crazy all the time. Don't worry guys, I'm going the speed limit. Speed limit's 55. I think I can take this at 60 on the highway now. Because, geez, before it used to vibrate like crazy. So, looks like the last bearing, after being replaced, we no longer have to worry about going long distance. Except, I need to get summer tires. Because believe it or not, this car is still actually on winter tires because, oh man, do we get hit with snow. And I mean, we get hit with snow. We'll try an acceleration at the next stop. But wow, this is... To be honest, it almost feels like I'm driving the silver Buick. Because... Whoa. There goes my camera. Alright, well, as long as you can still hear me, I think that's good. Well, yeah, this almost feels like driving the silver Buick because, I mean, there's a night and day difference between how this and that used to drive. Because I'm serious, you could literally feel all the bumps that bearing is causing just because it's wobbling all the time. Oh, yeah. Nice and smooth. I'm liking this. Alright, we're coming up to the stop sign, so I'll fix the camera there and then I'll do a 0 to 60. Or actually, I guess in our case, 0 to 55 because the speed limit is 55. Alright, let's do a 0 to 55. Alright, here we go. And there goes the camera again. Oh yeah, this is so different. This is just so smooth. Oh yeah. This is so great. Except now we're going onto a bumpy part of the road. But yeah, those smooth stretches that we were on, oh yeah, the difference is very noticeable. So this corner here, I don't have to stop, and I know you can't see anything because the camera tipped over again. But I'm gonna see how this thing handles with this corner. Because this thing used to not like corners. Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So there we go. Red Fox is fixed. I've waited a long time to actually say that, but I can finally say it. My car is fixed. Yeah, this is so much better. I mean, currently I'm not on the best road to demonstrate it, but wow, this is night and day. Alright, I'll take this slow for the camera, because I know that tripod does not like corners. There we go. Camera stays. Those bumps that we're going over, that is actually the reason why this car has had bad bearings when I bought it. Because believe it or not, along the way, I didn't mention where it was, but along the way I actually drove by the place where I bought this car from. So, and this car has gotten used to being driven on this road for quite a long time, and as you can see, it's not exactly the smoothest, so probably explains why the bearings are all shot and why I had to replace them all. But after hundreds of dollars that I've spent, there's no stop here by the way, after hundreds of dollars I spent of my own money going into debt, I finally got Red Fox fixed. I also noticed the car's a lot quieter too, because I mean, when that last bearing, it used to make a very loud noise on the highway. And that camera just can't seem to pick an orientation. So that's it. Red Fox is now fixed. Thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. My name is Alpha DeWolf. Random Alpha, signing out.